How do you prove it's more than just the words of men? Well, one of the ways is by prophecy. The Bible is a unique book in that it contains over 30% prophecy. And the prophecy is 100% accurate and it's very detailed, unlike prophecy of the so-called astrologers like Nostradamus, which are so ambiguous that you can fit almost anything to them. Prophecy in the Bible is very specific. For example, it talks about the city of Tyre. It talks about its stones and timber and rubble and dust being thrown into the water. How did this happen? Well, it happened in history, and it was predicted centuries before by the prophet Ezekiel. When you study history, you find out that Alexander the Great, in order to conquer the city of Tyre, which by then was out on an island, threw into the ocean all kinds of debris from the mainland city of Tyre and built a causeway, and he was able to conquer the city. The city of Tyre is unique in that its ruins are situated in the sea, but yet it was predicted by the Bible. Exactly. And there's other predictions just like that. The nation of Israel, the nation of Israel's history, laid out, even though they have a very unique history, and that they lost their country and yet stayed together as a people, stayed identifiable as a people. Unprecedented in history, and equally unprecedented. After 2,500 years, they were brought back into their land. That's never happened to any other nation, and yet that's the prediction of the God of the Bible concerning his people. Not only do we have that, but we have messianic prophecy. Messianic prophecy, of course, all about the life of Jesus Christ. And if you look at the different prophecies about Christ, you see that all the details of his miracles, his life, his teachings, over 300 prophecies and allusions to Jesus Christ, all fulfilled in one person. Impossible for one person to fulfill them all by chance. And I demonstrate that in the chapter on messianic prophecy. Also impossible for him to deliberately fulfill all of them. To be born at the right time period, to arrange to be crucified, for example. There's a psalm that reads just like a person as if they were hanging on the cross. Psalm 22. There's a prophecy in Daniel 9 that pinpoints the time of Christ's coming to this earth. It actually, some believe, and I believe you can defend that it pinpoints the exact date of the Palm Sunday's triumphal entry into Jerusalem. And there's many more like that, time-restricted prophecies. Prophecy, one of the most powerful ways to prove that the Bible is more than just the words of men. Also, you have scientific foreknowledge. Science in advance. In those days, in the biblical days, they believed the earth was flat. You look at any other holy book, and it tells you the earth was flat, and that there was something holding it up, Atlas, or a turtle. The Bible alone, the book of Job, talks about the fact that the earth hangs upon nothing. There's nothing holding it up. How did Job know that? He'd never seen the earth from space like we do now. Also, the Bible is the only book that speaks of matter, space, and time coming into beginning all at once. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. All other ancient holy books have matter and space and time and everything already there, and the gods kind of popping out of them. But what do we know? Science, for years, didn't know how the universe began. They just thought it was eternal. Then all of a sudden they find out, oh, matter, space, and time seem to have come into beginning all at the same time at a finite point in the past. Only the Bible teaches that. So there's all kinds of facts in there about the scientific facts that weren't discovered until many years or even millennia later. And I'll go through many of those. Also, we have some more esoteric evidences, like the numerical design of Scripture. A Russian scientist by the name of Ivan Panin found numerical patterns all through the text of the Old and New Testament. He was using the original languages and using the variants among them. So he didn't just play around with the words. He found, for example, in the genealogy of Matthew, many different features of 7 that would be almost impossible to contrive. They would definitely be impossible by chance, but they'd be also very, very difficult, even if you're an expert with computers. And of course we know the Bible writers didn't have those back then. And you find those same type of patterns throughout the whole text. He did, in fact, he thought that one of the ways you can tell which variant is the correct one is by applying his numeric tests. I think it's an overlooked line of evidence that needs to be brought out again and looked at again more seriously. No one's even, that I can see, has really been able to refute what he said. And I have a whole chapter on him and on his work and on other designs in the Bible that seem to be related to the numerical properties of Scripture. And that makes sense because we have a numerically designed universe. You have patterns and flowers, and in everywhere you look, flowers and musical notes and different time periods and patterns in the universe, the periods of the planets, that all seem to be very numerically coordinated, some divisible by 7 and other numbers, many numerical properties. I also touch on an even more controversial area called the Bible codes. And this is involving words that are supposedly encoded in the biblical text, that what they call equidistant letter sequences. And I go on both sides of this. I treat this very cautiously, but I treat it and try to separate the fantasy from proven facts, because there is some statistical indicators that there may be an underlying design to the text itself, which makes sense. God inspiring the text could also put things in there for a skeptical generation like ours to dig out. So I talk about that.